You know, they tell you that the hardest part of losing someone is the funeral. They say it's the saying goodbye in front of the flowers and the people in black suits. But they're wrong. My name is James. I'm 74 years old. For most of those 74 years, I was proud of the man I saw in the mirror. I was a man's man. I was a provider. I worked 60 hours a week for 40 years. I built a life in Connecticut that most people only see in magazines. I paid off the house, I secured the 401k, and I made sure my wife Mary never had to worry about where the next dollar was coming from. I used to come home, drop my keys on the counter, and look at the dinner Mary had made, the clean house, the life I was funding, and I'd think, I'm doing a great job. I thought providing was the same thing as loving. I thought that because I was the one keeping the roof over our heads, I was the hero of the story. But I'm sitting here now in this big expensive house, and it's empty. And I've realized something that has broken my heart in a way that no business failure ever could. I was a world-class provider, but I was a third-rate partner. I spent 4 decades making sure she had everything she needed, while completely ignoring everything she wanted. I learned the difference between the two far too late, and if you're listening to this, I hope to God you don't have to learn it the way I did. Mary and I, we were together for 46 years. That's nearly half a century. If you'd asked our neighbors in the suburbs, or our friends at the country club, they would have told you we were the perfect couple. We were the ones people looked at when they wanted to see what a long-term commitment looked like. We didn't have those explosive screaming matches you see in the movies. No plates were thrown, no doors were slammed. We were comfortable. We had a routine that ran like a Swiss watch. We were polite. We were considerate. We were a team. But looking back, we weren't a couple. We were just two people maintaining the same property. See, in America, we have this specific trap. We're taught that as long as the lawn is mowed, the cars are washed, and the 401k is growing by 10% every year, then your marriage is healthy. We've been sold this idea that stability is the same thing as intimacy. I bought into that lie, hook, line, and sinker. I thought that because I sat across from her at the dinner table every night, I was with her. I thought that because we shared a bed for nearly 17,000 nights, I knew her. But the truth is, I was just a physical presence in the room. Mentally, I was 1,000 miles away. Even when I was home, I wasn't home. While she was telling me about her day, or her sister, or a book she was reading, I was staring at her, nodding my head, but my mind was in a boardroom. I was rehearsing the next promotion speech. I was calculating the cost of the next kitchen renovation. I was planning a future that I was too busy to actually live in. I treated Mary like a permanent fixture of the house, like the fireplace or the oak tree in the front yard. I thought she'd just always be there. So I stopped being curious. I stopped asking questions. I thought I had already read the whole book, so I stopped turning the pages. Comfort is a dangerous thing, friends. It's a slow-acting poison. It feels like peace, but it's actually just apathy. I had mistaken the absence of conflict for the presence of love. And by the time I realized that comfortable was just another word for strangers, the clock had already started ticking down for Mary. 3 years ago, the clock stopped. It wasn't a slow winding down. It was a crash. Cancer. A word that sounds like a death sentence no matter how much money you have in the bank. From the diagnosis to the end, it was only 4 months. 4 months to undo 46 years of someday. We moved into the hospice ward, and suddenly that silence I mentioned earlier, the one I thought was comfortable, it changed. It wasn't peaceful anymore. It became heavy. It felt like it was filling up the room, suffocating us. Because for the first time in my life, I had no work to go to. No promotions to chase, no lawn to mow. I was just there, in a room, with a woman I realized I barely knew. It was a Tuesday, I remember the light, that deep orange gold American sunset pouring through the hospital blinds. Mary was looking out the window, her hand so thin it looked like parchment. I was holding it, but even then I felt like I was holding a ghost. She didn't look at me. She just stared at that sun dipping below the horizon, and she said, "James, you spent 40 years preparing for our retirement, but you forgot to live in our marriage." It felt like a punch to the gut. No, it was worse than that. It was like someone had ripped the floor out from under me. I did what any man who's been the provider would do. I got defensive. My voice cracked, and I said, "Mary, how can you say that? Everything I did, the late nights, the stress, the heart palpitations, I did it all for us. I did it so we could have this life." And that was when she turned her head. She looked at me with those tired, beautiful eyes, and she gave me a smile that I will see every time I close my eyes until the day I die. It was a sad smile, a smile of pity. That was it. 40 years of my hard work dismissed in one sentence. She wasn't angry. That's the thing. She was just resigned. She had spent her life waiting for a version of me that was never going to show up until the work was done. And now, the work was done. But she was done too. After the funeral, the house didn't just feel empty, it felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by the things we never did. A few weeks in, I found myself cleaning out our bedroom. I knelt down on her side of the bed, the side that still smelled faintly of her lavender perfume, and I found a box, just an old shoebox, tucked way back in the corner. I opened it expecting to find old photos or tax returns, but it wasn't that. It was full of brochures, dozens of them. Some were yellowed with age, others were crisp and new. I started going through them, and it broke me. They weren't for luxury trips to Paris or expensive cruises across the Mediterranean. They were simple. A brochure for a pottery class in downtown Hartford, a map for a hiking trail in the Berkshires, a flyer for a small jazz club 2 towns over, one she'd mentioned a dozen times over dinner. They were small requests, little sparks of life she wanted to share with me. And as I held those papers in my hand, I could hear my own voice echoing back from the past. Every time she had held one of these up to me, I had a shield ready. I remembered my answers. They were always so reasonable. "I'm too exhausted, Mary. It was a long day at the office. Maybe next weekend, honey. I have that big presentation on Monday, and I need to prep. That's too much driving for one night. Can't we just stay in?" I thought I was being practical. I thought I was being the responsible adult, protecting our energy, protecting our future. But I wasn't protecting anything. I was starving our present. I was suffocating the very thing I claimed I was working for. And here is the part that haunts me the most. She stopped asking. I couldn't remember the last time she'd shown me a brochure. Maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10. She didn't want to nag. She loved me. So she adapted. She retreated into her own world. She found hobbies I wasn't part of. Talked to friends about things she knew I wouldn't listen to. She learned how to be lonely while sitting right next to me on the sofa. I thought our marriage was stable because she stopped complaining. I didn't realize that silence wasn't peace. It was surrender. I know who is listening to this. I know you because I was you. You're in your 30s or your 40s, maybe your 50s. You're grinding, you're providing, you're coming home late, kissing your wife on the forehead and thinking you're a hero because you're tired for her sake. Hear me clearly. Look at my life and hear me. Your wife does not want your achievements nearly as much as she wants your attention. She doesn't need another trophy on the mantle or a bigger number in the investment account if the price of those things is a husband who is a ghost at the dinner table. Don't wait. Don't wait for a doctor in a white coat to hand you a terminal diagnosis before you decide to start being curious about the woman you shared your youth with. You think you know her? You don't. Not anymore. People change, dreams shift, and if you haven't been paying attention, you're living with a stranger who has your last name. Ask her about her dreams today. Not the dreams you had when you got married in 1985. Ask her what she dreams about now in 2026. What is she afraid of? What makes her feel seen, even if you've been sleeping in the same bed for 30 years? I promise you there are rooms in her heart you haven't stepped foot in, because you were too busy building a house you don't even enjoy. Go on that inconvenient walk. When she asks you to go for a stroll after dinner and you've had a brutal day at the office, go. When she wants to show you a bird in the backyard or a flower that just bloomed, look. Turn off the football game. Close the laptop. Silence the phone. Just listen to her talk about her day, even if it seems mundane to you. Because those mundane moments, those are the bricks. That is the actual foundation of a life. Everything else is just decoration. I sit here at 74, and I have what they call a beautiful home. But to me it's just a silent museum. A museum of a life I failed to fully participate in. I walk through these hallways, and I see expensive paintings and high-end furniture, but I don't see us. My greatest regret at the end of my life isn't a business deal I missed or a promotion I didn't get. It's that jazz club. That small smoky club, 2 towns over. I never took Mary there, because I was too tired. I saved my energy for the office, and I gave her my exhaustion. Don't make that trade. It's a loser's deal. Every single time. I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't build a future so big, so grand, that you lose the person you're building it for. We spend our lives chasing the gold at the end of the rainbow, forgetting that the rainbow itself is the person walking beside us. If she's in the other room right now, if you can hear her footsteps in the kitchen, or the sound of her breathing while she sleeps, go to her. Don't finish that email. Don't scroll past one more post. Just go tell her she's more important than whatever is on that glowing screen in your hand. Tell her while she can still hear you. Do it before the silence in your house becomes permanent. I can't go back to 1985. I can't take Mary to that jazz club. But maybe by me sitting here talking to this microphone, I can take you there. Maybe I can help you see the brochures under your own bed before they gather too much dust. If this story reminded you of someone, a brother, a friend, a son who's working too hard and living too little, please share this with them. We're all just walking each other home, and we need to help each other wake up before it's too late. Thank you for listening to An Old Man's Regrets. Now, go be with her. You know, they tell you that the hardest part of losing someone is the funeral. They say it's the saying goodbye in front of the flowers and the people in black suits, but they're wrong. My name is James. I'm 74 years old. For most of those 74 years, I was proud of the man I saw in the mirror. I was a man's man. I was a provider. I worked 60 hours a week for 40 years. I built a life in Connecticut that most people only see in magazines. I paid off the house. I secured the 401k, and I made sure my wife Mary never had to worry about where the next dollar was coming from. I used to come home, drop my keys on the counter, and look at the dinner Mary had made, the clean house, the life I was funding, and I'd think, I'm doing a great job. I thought providing was the same thing as loving. I thought that because I was the one keeping the roof over our heads, I was the hero of the story.